Tonight, the top Democrat overseeing the Trump obstruction probe is proclaiming a new legal weapon to fight Trump's stonewalling. House Judiciary Committee Chair Jerry Nadler says Hope Hicks' blanket refusal to answer any questions this week about her time in the White House is a gift because it allows Democrats to prove to a judge that the stonewalling is so extreme and beyond executive privilege that it will be overruled in court. Now, this is something that our experts this week have outlined, that the seemingly frustrating interview could actually be a strategic coup of sorts, strengthening the Democrats' hand in court, not just for Hicks, but other key witnesses as well. So now in our special report, we dig into the criminal evidence that Trump doesn't want you to see in any televised hearings. Call it the negative space in this painting, the key topics that Hicks won't talk about, which include Donald Trump's efforts to stop Jeff Sessions from ever recusing himself in order to control the Russia investigation. Mueller amassed evidence with the goal to figure out whether Donald Trump had criminal intent, which is the kind of thing Congress can weigh in an impeachment proceeding. So consider that the House Democrats' lawyer asked Hicks, do you recall, after Sessions recused himself, Trump was angry and scolded him in your presence? It's one of the many questions she ducked. But why? Well, we know when Trump took office, there were all kinds of calls for Sessions to recuse because he'd worked as a Trump surrogate. It all came to a head, though, on March 1st, 2017. A Washington Post report that Sessions had met twice with the Russian ambassador and then hid it. And the very next day, this is important, reporters were buzzing about this issue. It turned out Trump had formed a clear view. He stopped during a visit to an aircraft carrier in Virginia and told the world Sessions should not recuse. What you're about to see was a moment that mattered in history because it made Trump's life and first term much harder. Pressuring your former surrogate and now AG to avoid recusal adds to the very reasons the DOJ was trying to make him recuse.
Mr. President, do you still have confidence in the Attorney General, sir? Total.
Mr. President, should Sessions recuse himself from investigations into your campaign in Russia?
I don't think so at all.
Now, we know from the Mueller report that behind the scenes, Trump's staff was working overtime to stop the recusal. Trump urging White House counsel Don McGahn to talk to Sessions and tell him not to recuse. McGahn not only trying to convince Sessions personally, he also talked to Sessions' own counsel, his chief of staff, and even Mitch McConnell, basically rallying the troops to make the case. In the end, it didn't work. Here was Sessions an hour after that clip I just played of Trump making his case.
I have now decided to recuse myself from any existing or future investigations of any matter relating in any way to the campaigns for President of the United States.
That changed everything, and Trump didn't like it. Now, the details of the private reaction get pretty startling. Remember, Trump calls McGahn into his office, opens the conversation by saying, quote, I don't have a lawyer. Tells McGahn he wished Roy Cohn was his lawyer, and he wanted McGahn to convince Sessions to change his mind, to unrecuse. Steve Bannon would describe this as acting as mad as Bannon had ever seen him, and that he screamed at McGahn about how weak Sessions was. Now, this is all part of what the Democrats want Hope Hicks to be forced to say in public, what she knew about this. This was March 2017. This was before Trump fired Comey. It was before Rosenstein appointed Mueller, because when that happened, well, according to the evidence we have, Trump lost it even further. Sessions was at the White House. They were meeting about replacing Comey. They get the news. And Mueller describes how Sessions leaves the office to take the call from Rosenstein, who tells him Mueller's appointed. Sessions then has to go tell Donald Trump about all this, who he knows thinks it's his fault. Sessions tells Trump the news, and he, quote, slumped back in his chair and said, oh, my God, this is terrible. This is the end of my presidency. I'm effed. Then he was angry, quote, lambasting Sessions for the recusal and saying, how could you let this happen, Jeff? He then asked Sessions to resign, and he agreed. Now, this is the stuff the Democrats want to put in the public record. Keep in mind, if you believe the Mueller report's evidence, which is from Trump's own people, this is the stuff that could have undone the presidency. There could have been a Saturday Night Massacre. Now, Hope Hicks told Mueller the only time she'd ever seen Trump that upset was when the infamous Access Hollywood tape came out. Now, Trump appeared insistent, even desperate, to try to get control of the investigation as it took down his advisors and saddled him with the highest prosecution rate of any president at this point in their term. Sessions' recusal clearly made the effort harder. Mueller probing whether Trump's attacks on Sessions were a new way to get around him, trying to make his life so miserable he might just leave, giving Trump the chance to pick a new boss for Mueller.
So Jeff Sessions takes the job, gets into the job, recuses himself, I then have, which frankly, I think is very unfair to the president. How do you take a job and then recuse yourself? If he would have recused himself before the job, I would have said, thanks, Jeff, but I can't, I'm not going to take you.
And this brings us to the next thing the Democrats want to put in hearings if they win these court cases, because Mueller finds that Corey Lewandowski basically tried to get involved with Trump's request to have a plot to get Sessions to stop recusing. Now, remember, Lewandowski's not a government official, and he has to tell Sessions he'd be fired if he wouldn't meet with him. And then Trump was still at it. December 2017, this is after Flynn pleaded guilty, Trump was trying to still get Sessions to unrecuse. He goes up to him right after a cabinet meeting and says, I don't know if you could unrecuse yourself, you'd be a hero. But pretending it wasn't an order by saying, I'm not going to do anything or direct you to do anything. This is what the Democrats think could make a difference if they had it in hearings with those actual witnesses. The evidence that Trump was trying to kneecap the probe, bend the rule of law, do whatever was helpful. Now, after all this, Sessions says it still wasn't a close call.
I felt I had to recuse myself, and I felt very comfortable that that was the right thing. I thought if I'm going to have any integrity and any respect within the department, I would have to recuse myself.
But now that the report is out and we've seen the evidence of how Trump has tried this investigation, Trump's trying to hold everyone back from answering Congress's questions on obstruction. Remember, he also never answered them himself.
You didn't sit for an interview. You didn't answer questions on obstruction.
No, wait a minute. I did answer questions. I answered them in writing.
Not on
I don't know about those. I don't know. I answered a lot of questions. They gave me questions. I answered them in writing.
Not on obstruction.
Look, George, you're being a little wise guy, okay? Which is, typical for you. Just so you understand. Very simple. It's very simple. There was no crime. There was no collusion.
There was no crime. Now, this is the heart of it. If Donald Trump gets what he wants, there won't be any public televised hearings, which he know move people, to discuss whether there was, quote, a crime. In the case of the president, it's the Congress that decides that. And all of this is at issue because it depends on whether you know what's in the report.
He said no collusion.
He said he didn't look at
George, the report said no collusion.
Did you read the report?
Yes, I did. And you should read it, too.
I read
Come on, let's go. You should read it, too, George.
You should read it as he gets out of the car. But we have read the report. That's why we report from what's in it in the facts. And that's why it's so interesting that Donald Trump has, as always, two strategies. A public one that says, hey, everyone should read the report, it helps me. And then a private legal strategy that says, no matter what, they will fight to the courts to prevent the report from being presented by the Congress and, yes, on television. Hey, I'm Ari Melber from MSNBC. You can see more of our videos right here, or better yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel below. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate that.